Most people think of Alaska as wilderness, ice, silence. But here's something real, documented and verified by emergency services. In 2021, a rescue team received a distress signal from Ice Station 4. Problem is, that station was officially decommissioned a decade earlier. No power, no staff, no access. It was buried after a structural collapse and completely sealed off. But the ping they received was clear. Personnel injured, request immediate assistance. When the team arrived, the building was intact, lights on, generator humming. The inside was warm. A mug of coffee was still steaming. No people, no footprints, no logs of who entered. And the worst part? They found a sealed corridor that wasn't on any blueprint. Inside was a live camera feed showing the rescue team from above, as if someone, or something, was watching. Later, the station's fuel tank was found bone dry. The generator shouldn't have been running at all. All recordings were corrupted. But one image survived, the team entering the station, and someone else behind them, facing away, wearing gear no one recognized.
This story came from a guy named Mark who works in environmental research in Alaska. He said this was the first time he ever considered leaving the field entirely. I live alone, about 6 miles outside of Talkeetna, Alaska, working a contract gig at a remote weather station. It's just me, a cabin with satellite uplink, some instruments, and a whole lot of quiet. I track snow levels, wind speeds, and atmospheric data. Nothing glamorous, but it pays well and keeps me away from people. Usually, I love the isolation, the snow, the silence. It's peaceful. Until about a month ago. That's when I started noticing snowmobile tracks. I hadn't taken mine out. It was still parked under the tarp next to the generator shed, untouched. But each morning, after a fresh dusting of snow, I'd find a new set of tracks cutting across the field behind the cabin. At first, I figured someone was joyriding. Maybe a trapper or someone from another outpost. That happens sometimes. But these tracks were different. They came out of the woods, straight toward my cabin, and then stopped. Right at the back door, not the main door with the motion light. The back. The one no one ever uses. And the strange part? There were never return tracks. Every time the same pattern, clean treads leading out of the forest, ending at my cabin steps, and then nothing. Like the rider vanished into thin air. The first time, I shrugged it off. Could have been wind or snow cover erasing the exit trail. Alaska has weird weather, but it happened again the next morning. And again after that. By the 5th day, I was unsettled. I followed the tracks one morning after a snowfall, bundled up, grabbed my radio, and walked the trail into the trees. The treads were fresh and deep. No signs of melting or drift, but after about 200 yards, the tracks just stopped. No turnaround, no disturbance, just a dead end in the middle of the woods. I circled the area, checked for boot prints or other trails. Nothing. That afternoon, I checked the security cam feed from the rear camera. It had recorded nothing. No movement, no lights, no sound. Just blank snow. All night. I submitted a maintenance report to the station director. He told me to replace the rear cam and said it was probably a poacher or a local playing a prank. I didn't push it. But the next night I stayed up. I wanted to see who it was. I left all the cabin lights off and watched from the kitchen window that faced the back lot. Snow fell steadily, blanketing the ground in thick silence. Around 3:12 a.m., I heard it. A distant hum, faint, mechanical, then the unmistakable crunch of treads in the snow. I killed the porch light and stepped back from the window. The sound grew louder, then faded. When I finally stepped out the next morning, the tracks were back. And this time, they didn't stop at the back door. They went around the cabin, a full circle. Still no boot prints, still no return trail, just a tight loop like someone had driven around me and left no way in or out. That was the night I started locking every door. I also checked the snowmobile under the tarp, still there, still chained up. No one had touched it. A few days later, I noticed something else. The tracks came up not just to the door, but to my bedroom window. They ended right under it. No signs of tampering, no smudges, but the snow was packed where someone, or something, had been standing. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I boarded the window from the inside and stacked a filing cabinet in front of it, just in case. Then yesterday I found a note. It was tucked under the edge of the back door mat, soaked and warped, but still legible. Open next time. That's when I called for evacuation. They told me it would take 48 hours. That was yesterday. Last night I stayed up again. Rifle next to me, lights off, windows boarded, nothing but the sound of the wind outside. And then I heard it. Not a snowmobile, not an engine, footsteps, crunching slowly through the snow, from the back, then to the side, then the front, each one deliberate, heavy. They circled the cabin. I held my breath. The footsteps stopped right outside the front door. I waited. Nothing. Then a single knock, not loud, just one. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I sat there until sunrise. When I finally opened the door, there was nothing. No note, no footprints, just the same old snowmobile tracks, cutting a perfect circle around the cabin and ending at the front step. I don't care who's supposed to pick me up tomorrow, I'm leaving today. Even if I have to walk all the way back to town, because if I see those tracks again, I think they'll end inside. This one comes from a guy named Lucas, a line worker sent to repair power outages after a major storm in Alaska. He said this call made him quit field work for good. After last November's ice storm, I got sent out to handle damage along the old North Ridge utility line outside Fairbanks. I work solo. Most of the smaller jobs are better that way. Less time wasted, fewer people to worry about. The job was simple. Check a few transformers, report the condition of any collapsed structures, and radio in from the truck when it was done. I'd done it a dozen times. It was cold, below zero, thick fog over the valley. I was about 4 hours into the shift when I noticed something I hadn't seen on the map. There was an old service trail partially covered in snow, splitting off the main access road. Looked like it hadn't been used in years, but I could make out fresh animal prints, maybe moose, and what looked like old tire ruts buried under the ice. Curiosity got the better of me. I parked the truck and followed the trail on foot for about half a mile, boots crunching in deep snow. That's when I saw it. A collapsed cabin, half burned, leaning into the trees like it was trying to disappear. The walls were black with soot. The roof was partially caved in, and frost clung to every edge. Even from 20 yards away, I could smell it. Burnt wood, which made no sense. There'd been no recent fires reported in the area. I radioed base and gave the coordinates, letting them know I was investigating a possible structure fire remnant. The line crackled, but no one answered. Reception's always iffy in the low valley, so I moved in closer. That's when I saw him. Through a jagged hole in the wall, just barely lit by the pale gray sky, I saw someone sitting inside. He was in a chair, facing the open space where a wood stove probably used to be, wearing a thick parka, face in shadow. Still. Too still. I stopped and shouted, "Hey, you okay in there?" Nothing. I took a few cautious steps closer. The snow around the shack was untouched. No boot prints, no drag marks, no smoke either. The frost on the burned walls looked days old, and yet inside I could see vapor in the air, like the kind your breath makes when it's warm enough indoors to melt the edge of the cold. I stepped up to the half-hinged door. It creaked as I pushed it open. The warmth hit me like a gut punch. The air inside the cabin was hot. Not just warmer, hot, but there were no flames, no active stove, no generator. Just the lingering feel of heat and the burnt walls still wet with melted ice. And the man was still sitting there. Back to me, completely still. "Sir?" I said again. He didn't move. I stepped closer. The air around him shimmered faintly, like heat off asphalt. His jacket steamed. His hands were limp at his sides. And then I noticed something worse. The chair he was sitting in? It was melted into the floorboards. Just fused there. Plastic and wood and charred timber blended together like something had pressed him into the cabin itself. I fumbled for my radio again, static. I stepped back toward the door, ready to leave and call it in from the truck. Then I looked back, and he was gone. Just gone. No sound, no movement. The chair was still there, still fused into the floor, but it was empty. I sprinted back to the trail and didn't stop until I reached my truck. When I turned the ignition, the dashboard lights flickered and the cabin heater roared to life instantly. Weird, but not impossible. I grabbed the mic to radio base again. Finally got through. "Lucas, what's your location?" they asked. I gave the coordinates. There was a pause. "That's a dead zone," dispatch said. "You sure you're there?" "Just left it. Collapsed cabin, signs of fire damage. Someone was there." More silence. Then, "Lucas, there's nothing on file at those coordinates. That cabin burned down in 1991. It was condemned and removed." I didn't know what to say. I told them I'd return with photos. But when I got back, less than 30 minutes later, there was no cabin, just trees, snow, nothing disturbed. The trail I'd walked down, gone, no tire ruts, no footprints, like the storm had never happened, like I had imagined the whole thing. I told my supervisor. He told me to take the week off and file an incident report. When I got home, I pulled my jacket off and tossed it on the kitchen chair. That's when I noticed the burn mark, a perfect oval on the back shoulder of the coat, like it had been pressed to something white hot. No scorch, no hole, just heat damage, still warm to the touch. And that night on my bedroom wall, I found something else. Drawn into the condensation from my heater vent, a perfect outline of a chair and a face, watching me. This was sent in by a rescue tech named Aiden. He says it's the reason he refuses to answer pings from decommissioned stations ever again, no matter what they claim. We picked up the ping at 2:17 a.m. in the middle of a whiteout blizzard. I was on shift with Arctic Search and Response Unit 9, based north of Kotzebue. The signal was old school, analog, buried deep under noise and static. Most pings these days are satellite coordinated, GPS tied, digitized. But this one was broadcasting on a narrow band frequency we hadn't used in years. The source? Ice Station 4. My stomach dropped when I heard that name. Station 4 had been abandoned nearly 10 years ago, officially decommissioned after a partial roof collapse during a melt season storm. It was buried, physically and bureaucratically. No teams, no visitors, no resupplies, no signal, until now. We triangulated the origin 3 times. Same result. A weak but steady transmission. Personnel injured. Request immediate assistance. This is Ice Station 4. We flagged it as a possible equipment malfunction, but protocol says investigate. So we packed up, loaded onto the snowcat, and pushed into the storm. 6 hours later, we arrived. And there it was, fully intact, not buried, not collapsed, not even aged. It looked normal. Lights on, antenna upright. Fresh snow peeled away from the steps like it had just been shoveled. No visible footprints, no wind damage, no ice accumulation on the door. We circled the perimeter. I knocked, no response. We entered anyway. Inside, the heat was running. The backup generator in the corner purred steadily. The air was warm, almost too warm. Jackets came off within minutes. I looked at the gauges, fully powered. Battery status good, fuel levels full. The living quarters were spotless. Bunks made, gear lined up. No dust, no signs of abandonment. No rot or frostbite on the interior seams. And on the kitchen counter, a coffee mug half full, still steaming. One of the guys picked it up and nearly dropped it. "It's hot," he said, "not warm, hot." We spread out and did a room-by-room sweep. Nothing, no people, no signs of struggle, no logs in the emergency binder, but the logbook on the desk in the comms room had an entry. Written in clean, legible handwriting. 3:47 a.m. Sent distress ping, awaiting rescue. Avoid lower corridor. It was dated today. We all looked at each other. Then we heard the noise, a clank deep below, like metal being dragged across concrete. "Basement access, Bayuri?" one guy asked. "There's no basement on record," I said. But we found a door behind the supply closet. Heavy, sealed with a thick steel latch. Freshly scraped, someone had recently opened it. I volunteered to go first. Stupid in hindsight, but that's what training does to you. Makes you do the dumb things like they're standard. I descended into a corridor that shouldn't have existed. Metal walls, strip lighting, fresh paint. It looked like it had been renovated recently. But who? About 40 feet in, the hallway bent slightly, then ended in a sealed room with a reinforced glass window. I looked inside, just desks, and a large screen showing a live feed of the station's entrance. Our snowcat was there, us standing near it, from above. I turned back toward the hallway. The door had closed behind me and locked. I banged on it, radioed for backup, static. I started to feel the warmth creeping up again, not comforting warmth, suffocating, like something radiating heat in waves. Then the lights flickered, and I heard breathing, not my own, not human, just slow, deliberate exhaling, somewhere behind the walls. I backed away. The breathing stopped. A single monitor on the desk switched on. Camera 2, showing the hallway. I was on it. Then something stepped into frame, just at the edge of the corner. Out of focus. Tall, wearing one of our rescue jackets. Only I was the only one down there. I turned around. Nothing there. The screen went black. I don't remember much after that. I woke up, slumped against the sealed door, and it was open. I crawled back up. Found the team searching for me. I told them everything. They looked at me like I was concussed. Maybe I was. We did one final sweep before pulling out. Everything was still warm, still clean, still empty. But the generator? It was out of fuel, bone dry, completely empty. We didn't speak much on the way back. When we submitted the footage and logs, the review team flagged the files. Corrupted. All of them. Every time we recorded inside the station. Just blank frames. No audio, no video. The only thing that survived was a single image still from the comms room. It shows our team walking in, and someone else standing behind us. Blurred. Face turned away. Wearing gear that didn't match ours. We don't go near Station 4 anymore, but last week, we got another ping. Same voice, same coordinates, same message. Personnel injured. Request immediate assistance. And then something new. One of you stayed behind.